today we're talking about Jeff Schroeder. He's a talk show host on something called the Daily Blast Live. It's a news broadcast. They go 24/7. And basically...
Who's hosting this show?
I don't know all of their names, but yeah, they do like a 24/7 newscast of like everything, online trends, television, etc. So one of his co-hosts asked, do the celebrities need to speak out, or is speaking out not enough? Do they need to cut ties? And he decided to go off on Balenciaga, completely blasted them live on air, and he took his earpiece out, which suggests that people in the control room were telling him to stop.
Can I be cynical? The first thing I thought of was when Beyonce ripped her earpiece out when she was singing the national anthem, and they found out later it was pre-recorded, and they're like, "Oh my god!" She made it seem like she was like pulling it out like in an act of defiance as she's singing this amazing version of the national anthem, and they find out later that it was like pre-recorded anyway.
Well,
she wasn't actually singing
do you
live.
Genuinely think that this rant was planned?
No, I'm just extremely
I don't think it was
planned
media. Because all of the co-hosts sitting around him looked like they felt very awkward.
Let's show
the whole clip.
We're gonna show the clip, and yeah, if you want to understand how fake talk, like actual like network TV talk radio or in TV actually is, like the faces on these people is just everything you need to see when he goes off script.
Where's the outrage? I'm going to go off for a minute here because where is the outrage? It's been a week and a half, and now we're doing this story. I get it. Thanksgiving was happening and all that, but they tried to hide behind that, right? Maybe this will make it through the news cycle. No, it's not, okay? Adidas didn't cut ties 48 hours after Kanye did his whole thing, right? And they got lambasted for not speaking out against anti-Semitism. This is a week and a half, and nobody seems to care that there's little kids involved in this. I can't speak what it's like to be a black man, right? I can't speak what it's like to be a Jewish woman, but I can speak what it's like to be a father of two young boys. And that this type of behavior, when I worked at CBS.com out of a little closet my first show, I was like, I'm going to say this and wear a blue shirt. I got 49 emails saying, maybe wear a purple shirt and maybe don't say this here. Don't tell me this slipped through the cracks when you're getting a court case that features child pornography. It's disgusting. It's disturbing. Jeopardy's got to flip their whole production because of one person said something, but they wanted to be woke and do all that. How many other examples are there? 10, 20, 30, 40 years we're going back to cancel people? But this slips through the cracks. It's outrageous. And that people aren't outraged and skipping work with their posters and going to the courthouse or going to Balenciaga, and stars aren't wiping their Instagram and social media with all their Balenciaga gear is disgusting in itself. Don't you tell me, Hollywood, how to live my life, or you want me canceled, or because you produce something. You're going to go around because Balenciaga pays you $1 million, $2 million, $5 million? Kim Kardashian, shame on you. You're a billionaire. You don't need this company. They need you. And for you to take a week and a half to come to a conclusion, shame on you.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I have the clip from Ivory Hecker. There were no, like...
It's true what he said about no one is out there on the ground. There's a lot of internet outrage, but no one's on the ground in front of Balenciaga, in front of their distributors, actually speaking out about this.
I'm going to play the...
or Adidas, right?
Yeah.
So one of the images in that campaign is a collaboration with Adidas, and Adidas has not publicly commented on this, right? Like... There are arguably more Adidas stores accessible to people. No one's protesting outside Adidas. Like, I could understand where, like, I mean, how many Balenciaga stores are there in the world?
I don't even know where you would find one.
I have literally no idea. So I can understand where that is difficult to have on the ground people. But, like, why isn't the other major company that collaborated on this, who's part of the product that's being advertised, not expected to comment? Like, it's been a long time. What's going on?
She points it out here because there's also Balenciaga sections in stores that they weren't.
Right,
that they
like
weren't,
Nordstrom's.
So
Nationwide protests against Balenciaga today. I thought I would swing by the Balenciaga storefront at Galleria today. This is in the heart of Houston. No protest to be seen here, as well as inside Neiman Marcus. That has
Nobody cares.
Balenciaga section. Zero protesting. I did show up 15 minutes late. Maybe the protesters were there briefly and got kicked out. Who knows? But there's a security guard and an armed police officer, and it doesn't look like anyone is shopping at that Balenciaga. Talked to my friend Natalie Delenice, who went up to Nordstrom that also sells Balenciaga at the Woodland Mall. She said there is a small group protesting there. Let me know if there was a protest in your city. The.Mom Army on Instagram said that there's about 28 different protests organized at Balenciaga stores. Protesters are using the hashtag cancel Balenciaga in protest of the sexualization of children in the recent ad campaign. So after completing my uneventful report on nobody showing up at Balenciaga, mall security tracks me down outside of the mall.
Gosh, say it again.
No, stop.
She's telling me they had a complaint from Balenciaga that I asked whether there was a protest.
Imagine, they're like, hey, we know that like we support like the abuse of children, but could you not protest outside our stores?
Right. But I also said, like, imagine being one of the sales associates at
Yeah.
one of these stores and people are asking you to answer for the corporation and
Well,
you
you're
have
just-
no
you're-
idea what to say.
You're like, look, this is like, I work paycheck to paycheck. I can't just quit and start a new job next week and be able to pay rent. Like, I need to find a new job.
Yeah.
Could you wait?
So Balenciaga is one of the top selling brands, especially in China among young adults. Like what I would be interested in is to see their numbers come, you know, the end of the year. It was so late in the game that you won't be able to see necessarily the biggest impact, but into next year. Because while I think it'd be great if people protested in front of, you know, stores or whatever else, like more likely this is a like people are going to stop buying their products, right? I think you're more likely to see the impact that way.
Well, yeah, I mean, she said there's nobody shopping there, but I don't know how many people actually shop in an actual
Right.
Balenciaga store on a regular basis.
Adidas is a lower price point, so I think that the response should be stronger there if there's a larger customer base. But I think that this aftermath is what Balenciaga and their creative direction team is going to pay the closest attention to. Because as a lot of people have pointed out, this is testing the waters. They're testing the temperature. If people complain, depending on the degree of the backlash, they'll dial it back accordingly. And then when they repeat this the next time, pushing the boundary, it'll get all the way until public acceptance is achieved.
They dropped the lawsuit against the production company.
Right.
Yeah.
And no one is talking about this. It doesn't feel like any
people
major outlets are still covering this after the initial blow up.
I feel this way about everything these days. Like, we really are. And I think people, a lot of times when you're this kind of tuned into news and what's going on in the world, you are in your own bubble of sorts. You feel like you're more connected to the world because you're taking in more information, but it's just that separates you from the average person who, look, we were driving home the other night. I was like, we went by like a dance studio and a karate dojo. And I'm like, there's kids, parents are dropping their kids off there. They're going to work. They've got stuff to do. They're not paying attention to this stuff. And these evil companies take advantage of that. They normalize this stuff. They weaponize your inability to be outraged because you don't have the time in the day to know what's going on.
Okay, I think it works in two directions, right? I think you're totally right. But I will argue that the outrage was so severe that people who are not aware of the Balenciaga brand, because it's a high price point and also like they would not be shopping there anyways, they don't have the money or they're not interested or whatever, they have a life outside of a consumerist media driven world. Those people will now associate the term Balenciaga with predatory advertisements involving children.
It's 100% correct in my case, because I only heard of it in a Chase Atlantic song as a lyric, and now I know Balenciaga as this.
Right.
Even I
only knew about Balenciaga because a YouTuber, Sophia Nygaard, had done a video on like their platform Crocs. Right.
I remember those.
It was she's popular. They were very bizarre, like weird, but in an innocent way. And now all of that is kind of scrubbed because I will argue that, yes, I wish there was more being done. I wish we got details about why this lawsuit was dropped. I particularly really feel like Adidas owes everyone an apology, and they are skating into the shadows of the internet being like, oh my gosh, cancel Balenciaga, not us. Don't ask any questions. But to be fair,
even though their handbag is right there next
it's
to the
right
court
there.
document.
They also dropped Kanye. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right.
We should be demanding an answer from Adidas. The hashtag should be like, answer for Balenciaga Adidas, or answer
it
Adidas.
gets
Like,
worse.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, so there are
gets
also
worse.
other designer fashion houses under the same parent company as Balenciaga, including
Should I even open the? I don't want to
open a Twitter thread that I found because the media doesn't cover this topic as extensively as they should, as their journalistic duty would be.
I want to give people.
I have resorted to looking at
warning.
tweets from independent journalists or just independent observers about this situation. And what they found is that the owner of Balenciaga's parent company, Kering, is Salma Hayek's husband, by the way. He owns an art auction website called Christie's, where you can find plastic mannequins of what appear to be resembling prepubescent children with genitalia on their faces,
Like Pinocchio.
replacing their facial features.
Disgusting. Like,
with vaginal cavities, etc.
I've changed my. I don't want to open it.
I can't even say the title of the first one.
Yeah.
I mean, even if we did open this Twitter thread and you saw this, I don't think we can show this on YouTube.
I don't want to. I don't want to risk that.
I don't even want to scar you guys by showing you.
It's disgusting.
But yeah, that's the gist of it. It's right there out in the open. His name is Francois Henri Pinault, and he has yet to make any statement responding to the backlash for this. But these are there are many examples of this.
The journalist's name is Dominique Samuels.
Yes,
on Twitter.
These mannequins are wearing little to no clothing. They are very clearly resembling prepubescent children, and these are just out in the open to be bought and sold online.
Yeah.
That's it.
And it's evil. I hate to be that guy, but it's I always hate when people are talking about Hollyweird, evil. It's evil.
And also
weird.
Supreme is another brand that should be held accountable because they have sold skateboards with prints of these exact same mannequins on their website.
I'm like, who's buying that? Who bought that?
What
It
the
all feels like some larger, grander conspiracy, and we have no way of finding out what it is.
It's one thing to say the two brothers, the Chapman brothers, who run that art, who did a lot of art for Christie's that her husband, that Salma Hayek's husband, owns. They're known for being provocateurs with their art. They did Hitler art back in 2008, where they did hippie motifs with Hitler art and stuff like that. But it's just at a certain point, you have to understand that they're just putting it in your face and laughing at you. And like I said, I think they weaponize the fact that people are busy and that the average person doesn't know stuff like this is going on. And that's more disgusting than anything, that they just feel they can get away with it. Isn't that a tenet of Satanism, that they, as long as they say it to your face or they hide it in plain sight?
Or karmic
that
retribution. At least that's what Andrew Tate was pointing out.
Yeah, that's where I saw that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are plenty of useful idiots in the fashion industry that do just think that's so dope, that's so edgy, and they're middlemen for this. But there are people at the top with nefarious intentions.
Yeah.
And I can hope that they get exposed in the media, but it's unlikely.
That's what I'm saying. This is one of those things where I'm who was it? Dane yesterday was saying, you're extremely black-pilled and it's very frustrating. Look, because you can only, eventually you disengage, because you can only watch so much of this stuff happen and see nothing change until you're I get why your parents develop their cynicism. You can only watch so much corruption, so much deviant behavior, so much blatant evil, and see nothing come of it, to be just look, at this point, I choose either you dedicate your entire life to bringing these people down, in which you end up having to make some statement on Twitter like Elon Musk and saying I am not suicidal or whatever, or you disengage and you're look, I have to put my own health, my own family, my own existence first, otherwise the injustice of it all. And this is the same thing that happens with a lot of the climate activists. As much as I might make fun of climate activism, they're literally black-pilled into look, the world's going to end if we don't do something now. And I see how people get disengaged because it's awful. It's evil. You're seeing it happen in front of your faces by companies that are billion-dollar enterprises. If not, I mean, I bet you some of these companies are approaching
many
billions of dollars over. And it's just what do you do? The best thing I can say is I have the ability to talk about it here. But posting about it online, I would just feel I'm shouting into a void.
Well, I think also there, especially with this kind of issue that involved children, and it's so disgusting and creepy.
Yeah.
Some people know immediately. I think the objective with all of this is to blur morality, to constantly suggest that everything is a gray area, that we're being provocative or whatever else, to get you to compromise your values and allow you to put you, or, you know, especially young children, in positions of danger for their own gain.
And celebrities play a role in this.
Sure. And I think that part of what happens here is like people who are absolutely against this, right? They see it, they know it's wrong, they don't like it. Like, they're not going to reshare the images.
Right.
You know,
I feel disgusting
like,
even having happened upon it.
Right.
You know,
And you also, like,
it.
you know. So to a certain extent, they don't need to be convinced. They don't need to tell you on social media.
Right.
Like, they know it's wrong. And I think it's the people who are like, well, why would they do that? Or like, what about this art? Like, when there's the gray area, that's the population that these kinds of efforts are targeting, to be like, no, it's not really that bad. Like, it's not, it's kind of okay. And that suggestibility is what makes them vulnerable.
I also want to point out that it's kind of like we've discussed before, that everyone picks their outrage. I was reading an article earlier where Natalie Portman like talks about how the rise of anti-Semitism again is just awful, and it is.
Notice how
like,
literally every A-lister responded to the DEFCON tweet.
Yes, but nobody's
Every single
talking
one.
about this. And the other thing is, like, look.
But to be fair, if they've worked with Balenciaga, that means they've taken money or benefited in some way. So in some way, they are complicit in the actions of Balenciaga. So they should take a vocal stance against this, right? But Balenciaga has them in a chokehold because it's like, oh, but we dressed you for this award show. Well, but you've taken this deal with us.
In Kim Kardashian's case, I just don't see that, because like that talk show host was saying, they need you more than you need them, and she needs to protect her name more, like in a selfish way.
But you have to see what
the
her
money
clause is in her contract with them. If she's an ambassador for that brand, like, what kind of disparagement clause do they have her in?
But I'm sure, I'm sure there are extreme circumstances where she can walk away, right?
Right, maybe, but she's probably talking to a lawyer about it, I would hope, at the very minimum. Like, I'm not defending it. I think she has enough money where she should take the financial hit for any sort of disparagement payment she'd have to make to Balenciaga.
The positive press she would receive from that would be beneficial anyways.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, you have to remember this is a business relationship, and if you are willing to try and slip this kind of strange imagery into your ad campaign, think about how well your contracts are designed.
Also, there's two more things. So the video, both of those videos hit me for different reasons. The Ivory Hecker video hit me because I thought of like the Women's March, and I think of how many women showed up for selfish reasons. My opinion, selfish reasons for the
stand
Women's
up
March.
for like the sexual revolution and wearing pink hats and feeling a sense of belonging.
But it's even worse. Like, in a lot of ways, you stand up and remember, I am a libertarian. I am pro-choice to a point. You show up to a march to advocate the death of children, you know, up to 9 months, whatever, but you can't show up to Balenciaga to protest the abuse of children, or at least the glorification of the abuse of children by a company, right?
And that's ironic, considering they always are the crowd saying, you know, pro-lifers don't care about women, or they don't care about like how children are treated after they're born.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is an example where you could show that you care about how children are treated after birth. And they're being shipped across the globe as slaves.
Even if
like,
we don't go into
a
that
thing.
because we don't have like, I don't have like the documented proof that they're doing that specifically. Just
maybe not Balenciaga,
just
but
the promotion of it is enough to protest. Also, the other thing is like, look, the other video. Look at the journalists who get super uncomfortable. And I'm like, if the exploitation of children isn't enough to make you brave in the face of like the mild inconvenience of like maybe being like having your wrist slapped at work and told like you're getting a fine, this and that, you couldn't even muster like a face of disgust.
Especially as a parent.
Are you actually not disgust? Ooh.
Is it a Christmas party?
It is.
Wait, this is so great.
That's cool.
The tone change right now.
Merry
I have
Christmas.
whiplash.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing.
This is a weird change in tone. My
That's
goodness.
actually, it doesn't scare me. Wonder Woman scared me. Not like
I'm just
really,
saying
but
that to me, like that is shocking to me. It's like, especially all these people who are like, I would have like they think they're revolutionaries and they think that they stand up for all of these things that matter, when in reality, if the base instinct of protecting the young, you know, those younger and vulnerable, more vulnerable than you, if that doesn't kick in because your job has you by the short hairs, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
Like, I
that's
don't know
the
what to
exact
tell you.
sentiment that Jeff Schroeder was posting on his Instagram. He reposted the clip of his rant and he captioned it, "Where is the outrage? When did sexualizing children become a gray area? I'm so lost in my profession and the thought process that goes along with it." That's exactly it. It's like when you're a public figure, a talking head, even on a lower level, like I'm sure a lot of people haven't heard of the Daily Blast, like even in your place in life, like you should speak out.
And I'm not even saying like those other people needed to be the brave one who did it first. I'm saying
No.
that this guy did the hard work, and you can't even just look equally as
You can't
upset.
even nod.
Like they look uncomfortable, like they're worried about their job. Like they don't look like they give a crap about what's going on.
Or they're hoping he'll take the fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's disheartening to watch scenes like this. But at the very least, we know that Twitter is still mass deleting and reporting child exploitation materials on the platform. That's ongoing, and hopefully that will lead to a complete eradication of those materials on the platform, and the process for reporting it will be streamlined, and we still see independent journalists on Twitter making these threads, doing the real investigative work.
It really is only that's the other shocking part here is like Ivory Hecker mentions Natalie Denise or whatever her name was, right? Ivory Hecker's an independent journalist. This guy had to risk his job just to do this. The only people that are really doing the work are the people that aren't affiliated with these multi-million or multi-billion-dollar corporations. And it really does tell you, first of all, how important those jobs are. So if you find, like, if you have somebody that you find does really, really good work, look at what Matt Taibbi is doing with the Twitter files and everything like that. It's not really connected to this completely, but support those people, like, in as much as that you've seen their work, you believe that they're acting in good faith and they're doing honest journalism. That's important. That should be supported. And like, if we're going to take on something like this, where it's billion-dollar corporations promoting the worst behavior that a human being could possibly imagine, like, that's a very scary, like, deficit to be at when they have all the power, all the money, and none of the morality that you would hope that a person would have when they have that much power. So thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.